What's up, YouTube? I'm Cole Krugel, audio engineer and producer, and welcome to Cut to the Chase Cole, where we get straight to the point. Alright, today we're going to be talking about gain staging. The purpose of gain staging is to set audio signals to optimal levels for the next processor in the chain to minimize noise and distortion. It is important to note that the optimal level can be somewhat subjective. It typically refers to a signal that is loud enough to mask the noise floor, while quiet enough that ample headroom is left over for processing. This leaves a wide variety of levels that you can set to. As long as you have enough headroom to work with, do what works best for you. Although later on in the video, I will mention a specific loudness measured in RMS pertaining to optimal plugin reception. Getting started with gain staging. First and foremost, you want to make sure your 2-bus or master bus, where all your tracks are getting routed to, isn't peaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this real quick and then check out my 2-bus, and as you can see, it's peaking pretty heavily. So we need to fix that. Alright, next we're going to want to select all of our tracks by clicking the top one and then shift clicking the bottom one to select all of them at once. Then we're going to group our tracks together using Command G, and let's name it Beat All. Alright, so now with all the tracks grouped, we're going to turn them down in unison and look at our 2-bus and make sure that we turn it down enough that it's at a comfortable level where it's loud enough, but also it's not peaking. Okay, perfect. You can look at those meters and they look pretty good. Got a little bit of headroom, but we're still hitting in a good spot. And you can always adjust the levels as you go, so if you're unsure, give yourself a little more headroom than you think you may need. It's generally better to have to turn something up instead of turning it down regarding headroom in the context of your mix. I like starting with everything at -10 dB, which I'll explain in a bit. Now that we're comfortable with the group's headroom on our 2-bus, we can now turn the group off and adjust volumes individually from this start point, and this is going to help us build our balance off the stage that we're beginning to set. Now most of these sound pretty good, but I'm going to turn the snare down a little bit. It's a little jarring. Open hats definitely need to come down a lot too. Other than that, it sounds pretty good. So if you look at all these tracks, they're turned down by -6.6 dB, which isn't a problem, that's cool. But going back to what I was saying about turning things down by 10 dB, I'm going to explain why. So I'm turning it down by 10 dB right now, or getting as close as I can possibly get. Whatever, 10.1, it'll work. Now we need to pay attention to the metering on the individual tracks to see how much headroom each individual track has. Now most of these look pretty good right now, actually, but except the kick. Look at the kick. The kick is peaking like mad, so let's focus on that. So we want to have enough headroom on our individual audio tracks to add processing, because plugins can add gain to our signal depending upon what we do with them. And we don't want to box ourselves in. There's no distinct number when it comes to the headroom, but a lot of people like using like 6 dB at least. So to affect the amount of headroom on our tracks, we can utilize something like clip gain, which I'm playing with right now, or we can use a plugin like the trim plugin, which basically you just play with the volume in the same way. I personally prefer clip gain just because I don't want to have to add plugins if I don't have to, but the choice is up to you. So now that I'm playing this and the trim plugin turned down isn't activated, look, no more clipping. Nice little signal, headroom to work with. So I'm going to undo this trim plugin now and then show you how I can do with clip gain and kind of get the same result. Nice little signal going on there too with a lot of headroom. Alright, so once you create the headroom you want on the individual audio channel, turn the fader up by the amount that you trim the volume down by. This is why I like using the value of -10 on my initial gain staging, because 10 is just a very easy number to add and subtract from. For example, if you trim the volume by 6, turn the fader up by 6 to replace the gain that you lost. This puts you right back at the same spot and mix context you were previously at, but now provides you with 6 dB more of headroom to work with on that particular audio signal. So as you can see, the fader is at -10.1 like I said. We clip gained it down by 6, so we're going to add 6 and bring the fader up to 4.1. Now in regards to the RMS value I was previously mentioning, most people might not be aware that the majority of plugins are designed to work best when receiving a signal of -18 RMS. This has something to do with analog consoles and how they best receive signal to my knowledge. To gain stage based off of this value, you will need a VU meter. There's some free plugins out there you can download if you don't have one. I'm just using the Waves one right here. So open up your VU meter and make sure it's calibrated to -18. Most are by default. Then play your sound through it on a loop and adjust the clip gain or trim until the meter is hitting 0 on the VU meter. 0 is -18 because of the calibration I've just mentioned. Alright, so I'm playing my sound, and I'm going to adjust this clip gain until this VU meter is reading around 0. Alright, we're getting there. Cool. See, it's hitting 0 consistently. That's just what we want. So remember, we clip gain this down by -12 to hit 0 on the VU meter. So now we're going to need to replace that and turn it up to about 2 from -10. Alright, cool. Let's play it again and just see how it sounds. As you can tell, the kick's still slapping how it was before, but look at all that headroom we have to work with. It's awesome. So we can kind of do whatever we want, and the plugin's going to react to it in technically the best way possible because of this -18 RMS rule. Now, it's important to remember that you don't have to use this method. This is just what I prefer doing, but I typically only do it for kicks, 808s, or bass because their signals are typically heavily loaded these days and can cause plugins to be a little more fickle compared to other sounds. These are some ways to gain stage. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to leave topic suggestions in the comments for more content geared towards you.